Last night was the government's night of nights, budget night. Roll out the beige carpet.
The Treasurer says his budget is practical and honest and provides the platform needed to return the country to surplus by 2021.
Healthcare gets an extra $10 billion, while the vast majority of schools are also in for a funding boost. And $10 billion has been put aside for a national rail program.
The Treasurer dreams of a budget surplus in 3 years' time, but many remain sceptical given the amount of spending and a gaping $29.4 billion budget black hole.
Got rid of the zombie measures and it's replaced them with economy-sucking vampire measures.
Yeah, so it's just a budget, but it will kill you in your sleep. Treasurer Scott Morrison even unveiled his exciting new three-word slogan.
Better days ahead.
There are better days ahead. There are better days ahead.
There are better days ahead.
Well, at least that phrase is in surplus. But amid the feel-good budget of building bridges and bashing banks, Australians caught up in the housing affordability crisis might question whether there really are better days ahead.
Just to cut to the bottom line, I don't think there is really any impact on housing affordability.
And judging by the sheer volume of stories on housing affordability, it was the budget item most people cared about. The Weekly commissioned a search of all Australian media and found that there's been more than 67,000 individual stories on the topic so far this year. That is 528 stories per day. But just think of all the different kinds of stories they needed to cover. Property prices are booming. Property prices are crashing. Property prices are still booming. Look how expensive this amazing property is. Look how expensive this shit property is. Oh, look at Missy Higgins' Bondi property. Look at Missy Higgins' Abbotsford property. And hasn't that Missy Higgins done well for herself? Even politicians are trying to cash in on the media frenzy with mixed results.
Labor Senator Sam Dastyari has found himself in a property-related pickle after posting a video on what $1 million will buy you in Sydney.
$1 million in Ryan, $1 million in Toongabbie. This is what $1 million will buy you in Northmead, but it's okay because it's described as having a functional kitchen. For a fucking $1 million, you'd like to think the kitchen can work.
Sam's solution to the housing crisis is individually shit-canning people's homes until prices come down. Housing affordability is the ultimate barbecue stopper in that anyone hoping to own a house can no longer afford a barbecue. In the last 5 years, property prices across Australia increased 41%, while wages only rose 13%. There hasn't been such an uneven matchup in value since Beyoncé and the rest of Destiny's Child. The property market in Australia is divided into two camps. Either you're on the property ladder and want the value of your home to stay high, or you're not on the property ladder and you want prices to come down. So, which side are our politicians on?
The federal politicians charged with addressing Australia's housing affordability crisis are among the nation's most aggressive property investors.
The vast majority of them, 96%, own property, and not just the roof over their heads. About half of them own investment properties. Our property-owning politicians have an average 2.4 each. That doesn't include property owned wholly by their spouses.
2.4 properties each. I don't want to say that our politicians are out of touch, but 200 years on, Marie Antoinette is still getting slammed for thinking people could afford cake. So it's no surprise our government's solutions to the housing crisis do little to lower house prices.
We're also enabling young people to get highly paid jobs, which is the first step to buying a house.
We said that we wouldn't reduce the capital gains tax discount. We wouldn't make changes to negative gearing.
What are your kids locked out of the housing market?
Yes.
Well, you should shell out for them. You should support them, wealthy man like you.
Now, Turnbull was immediately criticised for those comments and no longer supports John Faine giving money to his kids. Now, surely someone in this government knows how to get a cheaper house.
Houses will always be incredibly expensive. You can see the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I'm in Tamworth. Houses are much cheaper in Tamworth. You know, and I did move out west, so I can say this. If you decide you've got the gumption in you and you want to move to Charleville, you're going to have a very affordable house.
Yes, just buy a cheap house in the country like Barnaby Joyce. It's the perfect solution as long as your job entitles you to $401,000 worth of taxpayer-funded travel. The last Prime Minister to seriously improve housing affordability was Conservative hero and John Howard eyebrow mentor Robert Menzies. But he did it for a really weird reason.
During the 1950s, the Great Australian Dream became a key weapon in Australia's war against communism. Conservative Prime Minister Robert Menzies believed that one of the best instincts in us is that which induces us to have a house. Citizens committed to mortgages and home improvements tended not to be revolutionaries. During Menzies' 17-year leadership, all kinds of federal and state housing schemes made the dream more accessible and affordable.
And it worked. Home ownership jumped from 50% to 75%, and we didn't succumb to the Red Menace. Oh, and how many homes did Menzies own when he made homes more affordable? None. Bloody communist.